genuinely, I'm not taking anything with me when I die, but I do want to have that moment where I'm sitting on my rocking chair with all my boys, on the porch, and like, hey, remember that time when we met?
Solar.
We tried to sell Sprint Sprint alarms, the big three.
Mobile, dude, yeah. What up, Solar Pros? I'm your host, Josh Holland. Welcome to The Pursuit. Today's guest, the one, the only, freaking Taylor McCarthy, dog.
Let's go.
Appreciate you coming on the show, dude.
Hey, I'm grateful to be here, bro.
Yeah, man. Dude, funny story. Me and Taylor met. We were trying to figure out the date. It was like sometime between 2015, 2017, actually at an Airbnb in freaking Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
We're doing like some sprint stuff. It was back when I was at Caliber. Dude, just post Solar City stuff for you.
Yep.
And that's where I got to meet the OG Taylor McCarthy.
Yeah,
and
good times, bro. Look at where we're at now. We're old men,
Dude, we are old.
I was on an Instagram live the other day, and some kid comments. He's like, "You look really old." I'm like, I just couldn't do anything but laugh. I'm like halfway to 68. I look at these 18, 19-year-old door-to-door salesmen. I'm like, shit, this kid was 2 years old when I started knocking doors.
It's the truth. Because you're 34?
34, yeah.
Dude, I turned 33 in like a week, so jeez. Yeah.
1/3 of the way to 99, kid.
Dude, there we go.
There you go.
Well, bro, appreciate you making time to come on with us. Man, we've been fortunate to have your content in all of our stuff. Like everyone that comes into Solar Pros has Knockstar logins, and I remember when we made the transition to solar, we were screen recording your stuff. We were like, who had a Knockstar login because we wanted your pitch training, all that stuff. So, dude, it's actually cool to like see how far that's gone, and then be able to kind of pick your brain on some stuff, and hopefully we can deliver some value for these guys.
Yeah, of course, man. And I do what I do because I look at it like all the door-to-door salesmen that might have never made it. We're the only creatures that face rejection every single day. And it's hard, right? The salesman can reach as high or as low within a 24-hour period. So genuinely, the reason I do what I do is I look at us like underdogs, and people tell us to get real jobs. But I'm here to tell everybody we do have a real job. We're professional trick-or-treaters, baby. We making plays.
I learned a good phrase on the real job thing. It was like, a real job comes when you make big boy money. So that's what you got to ask. Are you making big boy money? Or, is it you working 9 to 5 and not? But
I like that. I might have to use that on the doors.
Big boy money, as they say. But, well, dude, I kind of wanted to pick your brain on, and me and you've been kind of having conversations outside of this, but we've really been starting to like dive into like the psychology of like new beginning reps, and kind of some of the turmoil they go through. And you just have such clear advice and methods to help guys through those times. So let's kind of like dive into that realm of things.
Yeah, I'd first off say like clarity creates conviction. That's where it starts. The clarity creates the conviction. If the starting point is clarity, the end point is freedom, because that's what we're all working towards. So for anybody that's brand new in the field of sales, you have to understand some of the most important fundamentals. Like we talk about fundamentals, the base of what you need as a professional salesman. Clarity. A confused mind always says no. Repetition. You need to hear, read, write, and say something 6 times to gain 62% of that retention. Energy. The people with the most energy make the most money. The belief that you have. I'm actually the decision maker. I'm the assistant buyer. If my attitude, belief, and conviction is where it needs to be, I'm going to be one of the decision makers whether or not they get involved with that process. And then lastly is service. Like, stop thinking that you're salespeople, because you're not. We were mislabeled. We should have been called servants. And, that's why I love to do what I do, is because you can really help people. And whether it's the customer, the families that we serve, my fellow door-to-door sales professionals. But I think if I were to tell everybody, like, one of the major nuggets is, if you were to combine all of the professionals and put them up against the salesmen out-earn all of them combined, but the one thing that we lack is that willingness to pay the price, to be a professional, the dedicated sacrifice, the effort, the time investment, learning, like writing out your presentation word for word, logging on and actually watching videos to help you get better. I mean, you could be watching this and have no resources and go to the internet and say, how do I become a better door-to-door salesman? And it's just willing to pay the price. And that's the reason there's so much mediocrity in the field of sales, is because people don't have that willingness to actually pay the price like the professionals, like doctors, dentists, lawyers do. But when you're married to the game, you're never going to work a day in your life. I've never worked for 17 years. I've never had a job. I've never had to work. And, I just exercise and make friends. I'm a professional trick-or-treater. I've been able to build my whole life on this career. And, I'm proud to do what I do because of the fact that, I really didn't come from much. So to be able to watch people and to change their lives and to help them think differently, impact, legacy, and relationship is way more important than any sort of money. Because when we die, we're not taking anything with us.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, being around, because you've done so much you've been in the game for 17 years, and you've knocked with, dude, thousands and thousands of reps.
Yeah.
And, the advice you're giving is like that most people aren't willing to pay the price, which is, I feel like it's a common thing, but like people don't really pay attention to like, what does that actually mean? And then you're talking about like writing out your presentation, like writing out all these things, and like, you're going to memorize it. You're going to do these things. You're going to role play. You're going to practice in the mirror, all these things. And, you're basing it off of your own personal experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you were just telling me like some of the concepts you've learned of like, dude, when I was driving home at night or even at home, I was listening to Tom Hopkins on repeat. Like paying the price, and now it's paying dividends now. So like knocking with all these reps that you've seen, like it really is just that one thing.
I think Tom puts it perfectly. Like if he defines success, it's a continuous journey towards the achievement of predetermined worthwhile goals. Everybody's life is like a stock. You're either going to get better or you're going to get worse. But do you have that willingness to get better? Because Tom Hopkins was taught by an individual named J. Douglas Edwards, who's known as the father of modern day selling. And J. Douglas Edwards says the reason there's so many peons, and peons is like mediocrity, the reason there's so much mediocrity in the field of sales is because people only know one or two ways to close a sale, or one or two ways to break preoccupation, or when they hear not interested, they buy that and they say, okay, he's not interested, so I got to leave. After the last 2 weeks, everything I'm teaching is based on experience. It's not on a theory. It's not something I watched on a YouTube video. It's not something I stole from somebody else. It's things that I've learned from being out there. I am who I am because of my life experience. But for a lot of people, they are not as persistent as me. I'm persistently polite. They are wait-and-see salesmen. They bring up solar, and then they say they're not interested, and then they put themselves into a corner. You see sales broken down to the ridiculous for me, like the absolute formula, because I had a 1.8 GPA in high school. I'd learned this stuff, and I'm like, I'm never going to need it. Or if the teacher didn't teach the way that my brain would want to learn, I wouldn't pay attention. But for me, if I was to break down sales to the absolute ridiculous, it's blending opposites. I'm just weaving the entire time between opposites. Communication, it's not what I say, it's not how I say it, it's how I can make them feel. Persuasion, which is asking the right questions to solve their problems. I need to overcome the only objection, which is trust. But that doesn't mean I'm going to get their business. I also have to earn their respect. I need to be aggressive, but I need to be kind. I need to be assertive, but I need to be nice. I need to be egotistically humble. I need to be persistently polite. You see, these things are opposites, but when you can learn to blend them together, that's the symphony of words that culminates in a final win-win decision, otherwise known as closing or creating the decision.
Sheesh.
That's what it is, bro. It's all a reflex. It's like,
Dude, I love that.
You spend so much time doing this, and the top sales professionals, they shine with conviction. They have an absolute catching belief about themselves, their product, their service, their company. They know they're going to sell. They're not thinking, oh, am I going to get a sale today? They know that they're going to help people, and it's like, I've had days where I'm out there, I've had 4 people shadowing me, and I'm like, bro, watch this. The first person I talk to, I guarantee you I'm going to sell this person. Like their house they're getting crushed in sun. This would be ridiculous. I have this perfect presentation. The guy slams the door in my face. He's like, this is a gated community. I leave the house. I'm like, bro, that was nasty. Nasty. If we rip like that all day, we're ripping. Second house, same thing. Lady slams the door in my face. Bro, that was my best presentation. If I'm ripping like this, most salesmen focus on what they're doing wrong all day. A salesman is first off a man that can sell himself to himself.
Oh, yeah.
But if you constantly are thinking about all the things you're doing wrong, you're not going to be as contagious. And the rookies, they get a sale and then they go home. But that's when a salesman is more contagious than any other time, right after he gets a transaction. You're more contagious than COVID-19 or COVID-18 back in 2018 or whenever that happened. And that's all it is. I play a game. Like, people want to know my secret is the stuff I teach is very basic, but it's the fundamentals that make the difference. It's like Vince Lombardi said, all right, this is a football when he started every season. And he break it down to the absolute fundamentals for the players. For me, maintaining anything will eventually become exhausting. Building is energizing. The secret ingredient to this whole entire game called door-to-door sales or professional trick-or-treating is having fun. You know, when I was 9 years old, trick-or-treating started at 6. I was out there at 5:30. I'd run door-to-door. I'd collect free candy. Now I do the same thing, but I'm paid. It's a crazy way to think about it. All I do is I'm paid thousands of dollars to give away free money. Stop overcomplicating the sale. You're giving away money and you're getting paid to give away money. It's a win-win.
Dude, let's break down. So the part that you said that I find, and we've talked about this a couple times today. You said the difference is that I say pleasantly persistent. You say
persistently polite.
Persistently
Same
polite.
thing, yeah.
And then there was one other concept there. What was it?
Egotistically humble.
No, it was like
a wait and see salesman.
Wait and see salesman.
Yeah.
A wait and see salesman. Dude, help us understand, like, in another term, like, what does that mean to you?
Okay, so there's one technique that's more powerful than any other technique when it comes to selling, and that is control. One person is going to take the command position every single time. And if I get pushed into the corner of a ring as a boxer, I'm probably going to get beat. Somebody has stronger conviction. Either I have the absolute belief that I can help them, or they have an absolute belief that they're not interested.
Yeah.
So what a wait-and-see salesman will do is they'll put themselves into the corner of the ring by asking stupid questions. So are you interested in solar? Hey, do you want solar on your roof? Why haven't you went solar yet? And you're putting yourself into a corner rather than taking the command position, almost as the assistant buyer, taking their hand and leading them with questions. You see, by asking the right questions, I have full control over the sale, but it's an art because of the families that I serve. They feel like they have the control because I'm asking the right questions. A lot of the times, I'm like a police officer. Anything that they say will be held against them. Because if I say it, they tend to doubt it. If they say it, then it's true.
Yeah, it's true. So, because what I've noticed, like, watching a lot of guys on the doors is, like, when they, and this is what it reminds me of, like, with the wait and see salesman is, they'll say certain questions or things, and I notice, like, when the door gets slammed on them, because that doesn't happen as much to me or, like, in a more experienced guy, it's always after a pause. Mm-hmm. It'll come and it'll be like some type of question, and then they don't have, like, a good rebuttal to that. So it's like where a guy might be like, hey, I noticed you guys don't have panels on your roof, and where a rookie rep might say, why haven't you guys gone solar? Or another guy might say, you know, the kind of line that you even said today was, what was the line you were saying, like, about them not having solar on the roof?
Yeah, so the way I'll bring that line up is if they start to give me any sort of, like, combat me, but, like, you know, look, sir, obviously they aren't. But if the solar was on the roof, what do you feel like your biggest concern would be?
So, like, using that as an example versus, like, you guys don't have panels on your roof, like, why not? And then it's that pause right there where I feel like door slammed, especially here in Arizona, where with you it's the way you're guiding that question. It's just so different.
The way I would put it, right, is the only objection that you face as a sales professional is trust. But you also have to earn their respect. What happens is a lot of these professional salesmen that think they're professional, they have a professional contract in front of them with the amount of money they can earn, but they're not professional when it comes to their technique and their skills. And the way that they present is they do something called seal talk. You know what a seal is?
Squealer?
A seal.
A seal?
You know the seals that go out on the ocean?
Oh,
a
yeah.
seal?
Yeah.
What type of noise?
Yeah.
You know, and then the homeowner doesn't have much certainty.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you knock on somebody's door, the anxiety's up here and the certainty's down here. My goal is to shift that. Where if their certainty's up here and they don't have much anxiety, the greatest enemy is the client's fear. What is fear? False evidence appearing real. If I can help them relax through that process and truly serve them, I'm not selling anybody anything. I'm helping them get involved, or I'm helping them acquire. Nobody wants to buy anything people want to own. People cancel appointments. That's why I pop by and visit. People don't want monthly payments. I hear people say, hey, your monthly payment for the solar is 167. Don't say monthly payment. Say the monthly amount. It's all these words that create fear, which increases the anxiety and reduces the certainty. I know at the end of the day that I can help every single person that I talk to, that I can put them into a better position. But it's not what I say. It's not how I say it. It's how I make them feel and the music that goes into their ear, not just the words that I say.
Dude, you just dropped so many one-liners out. It's like, bro,
But
we gotta like break these down.
Going back to what you said,
Yeah.
I'm not thinking right now. We're
Yeah,
just having
bro,
a conversation.
You're going, dude.
What is it? It's a reflex.
Yeah.
This is what makes the difference. You talk about the guy that gets the door slammed on his face. He doesn't have a professional reflex. Like a boxer, if he has to think when a punch gets thrown at him, he's getting knocked out.
Yeah.
But boxers rarely get a knockout with one punch. They set up combinations. And the other thing I'd say is if you sound like every other door-to-door salesman, people will tend not to listen to you as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not just the words I say, it's my body language, it's my tonality, it's my level of certainty.
Just a little bit different.
It's a little bit different. I'm going to cut to the chase. I'm just going to give you the short version. I was the one that actually put together the report for this location. This is 586 River Road. I don't give them a chance to give me an objection.
I don't know if you know.
I don't know if you know. It is serious. We're not trying to come down on anybody. However, it is important.
Bro, I love that.
He's got it.
Dude, like, I mean, when we transitioned to, I've been in the game for a decade, and when we transitioned to solar, I've done alarms, I've done a little bit of pest, I've done satellite, I did freaking Sprint cell phones.
Yeah.
That shifted to T-Mobile, and we did T-Mobile internet, and then we shifted to solar. It's like I've seen like, hey, like, how do we identify a problem with a product? But I was like, dude, who is this Taylor McCarthy guy? And I just grabbed your stuff. I was like, hey, dude, how do I replicate this? And how do I convey it to these guys in an easy way, dude? And yeah, man. So I memorized your stuff from the get-go.
The way I would put it is like I feel like I'm a salesman because I'm no different than everybody else. Like I was a kid with a 1.8 GPA. I was a kid that came from a small town. I was a kid that didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth.
Yeah.
And I just made that decision. And a great line that I heard on the radio when I was like 17 years old was, decisions will decide your wealth. And those decisions are going to add up to become habits, to become your destiny. Because it all starts with the things that you think in your mind. The things that you think in your mind will become words. It will create an emotion. It will create a feeling. It will create a judgment. You create decisions. Those decisions ultimately end up to who you become. And we're all who we are because of our life experience.
I feel like reps so often, they get so caught up in like saying a one-liner or like, oh, like this sounded cool. Like those things are great, but like what I feel like they lack is identifying the problem in their presentation. Like what is actually fundamentally wrong with what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And we were talking about it today. Like I see so often guys will have a process and they're presenting a solution before there's even any pain built.
Oh yeah.
Things like that. They're jumping ahead. And, as they like that, there's a famous quote. It's like a problem, a clearly identified problem is a problem half solved. And you're to get better at this presentation game or like this closing game, like you have to identify what it is that you're lacking. I feel like you do that so well.
It's so simple though. Like it blows my mind. Every single everyone that's watching this podcast, they all have a voice recorder on their cell phone.
Yeah.
And some of these, I'd say 85% of people have never actually heard what they're saying on their doors. And like,
so hard.
When you listen to it, everything you say during your presentation helps you or hurts you. There's no neutral. So it's like pretty cut and dry to me. Like, dude, go voice record yourself in the field and then listen to it on the way home. Listen to it when you go to bed. Listen to it on your way to the field. And you listen to yourself on one presentation, you're going to get way better. Because you're going to be like, wow, I'm talking too much. I need to ask more questions. Or, dude, I got to slow it down about 10%. Or I'm not cutting to the chase. Or I'm putting myself in a corner at the beginning of the presentation. But it's not just the words you say. It's the tonality, the body language. It's your level of belief. Like, the word that I love to say every single time if they're a qualified buyer, when I say this before I knock the door, it's always a transaction. Bro, this would be ridiculous. The word is ridiculous. And I am sold myself before I knock that door. I'm a decision maker, bro. You know what I mean? Like, if my attitude, belief, and conviction is there to serve, and I'm sold myself before I knock that door, the number one rule of ethics in all of selling is if somebody qualifies by means of wants, needs, and financial capabilities, I must sell them.
Dude, listen to this guy just
It's
boom.
a mindset, though. That's all it is.
Dude, what I admire about you is, coming from a training background myself, um, like it's one thing to do it, and it's another thing to be able to show people how to do it, and then it's a completely other thing to be able to do both of those and teach it effectively.
Yes.
Like you're a teacher, and you have the same thought process on your presentation and closing as you do and how you teach people, and the rebuttals and the lines that you use to help people grasp it. It's remarkable, dude.
I appreciate that, bro. Like, I look at it like it's my life's work. I take
Yeah.
this very serious. And the next level of teaching anything is actually performing it. So you start by performing sales. Then a lot of unfortunately, most of the teachers have never performed sales, which just still blows my mind.
True.
But you go from performing to teaching, and then when people start teaching, they stop performing.
Yep.
But the next level of teaching is performing. If you're a teacher that performs, that's my secret weapon. That's how I keep getting better. Like if I just decided to just train for the rest of my life and not go to the field, like I was in the field the last 2 weeks and I had a bunch of fun, but I didn't work for 2 weeks. It was just trick-or-treating. I was exercising, making friends,
I do. That is a separator of you for you. There's a lot of trainers in the space. Very few do you see, and you were showing me the library of door presentations and in-home closes that you have. I don't know of anywhere else to find content like that. So like, dude, you're living proof of it.
Yeah, and I love the partnership we have with Solar Pros. I think there's a lot of solar companies out there, and Solar Pros is one of the companies that actually invests in their people because they want to see you get better. And a lot of the time, it's like, hey, well, what does it cost to have you, Taylor? I'm like, bro, it's free because of future happenings. It's there's a cost to bring me in, there's a cost not to bring me in, and that's the idea of how much better Solar Pros. I was started with you guys really pretty much from the beginning.
Right at the beginning, yeah.
Right at the beginning. And, I always say do business with people you want to do life with. And, you're somebody I've always respected and admired, like, because you're like one of the OGs in the game. But, like, you're about that business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of people that have been in the game that are just kind of paper pushers. And,
Sure.
They just collect a paycheck. But, I think it's a rare breed to have the three most important things I care about in business is trust, loyalty, and longevity. You have to do business with people you want to do life with. People don't quit companies, they quit leadership.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to fully trust the people you want to work with. Loyalty is rare, and then longevity, like being able to have those three things, the most important pillars of my business relationships. I'm 34 years old right now. I've been doing this since I was 18, and I think it gets to a point in your life where you're like, it's not about money, it's about the relationships. That's my currency, is the relationships. Like, genuinely, I'm not taking anything with me when I die, but I do want to have that moment where I'm sitting on my rocking chair with all my boys, on the porch, and like, hey, remember that time when we met? We tried to sell Sprint solar, Sprint alarms, the big three.
Dude, yeah. The big three.
Yeah.
Dude, I am curious, like, with you being in like the Solar City days, the heyday you oversaw. You told me you went from 3 guys to like 900. And Solar Pros has had explosive growth. I think we're close to 6,000 sales reps, and we started with about 200. It's been 19 months, 20 months maybe. What do you see here? Like, what do you feel like's different or like working? You obviously are in touch with a lot of the solar community. Like, what do you feel like with pros?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I see with pros, and this is based on all my experience when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So from a lot of the perspective of the sales professionals, is when a company invested in me, when a company went above and beyond for me, I always wanted to go above and beyond for them. Always giving people way more than they expect. One of my biggest fundamentals. I remember I was on the President's Club for Solar City, and I was one of the only people in all of Door to Door there. And it was funny because we had a party, and Hayes Barnard, who's now the CEO of Goodleap, Lyndon and Peter Rive, who are cousins of Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Hayes went up to me at that party and he said, "Hey, be in the parking lot at 8:30. Meet me at the main lobby." And I was like, wow. So I met him at the main lobby, and I was on a private boat I was the only one from Door to Door on the boat. And it was like Elon's cousins, Hayes, their wife, and I'm like sitting there, I'm looking around, I'm like, dude, I want to work so hard for this company. Yeah. And when I first met Elon Musk, I actually pulled Lyndon aside and I shook his hand and I said, I'm gonna have 1,000 sales reps that each install 100 accounts. And I was like on that mission before they were like, hey, there's no more Door to Door. If you guys want to continue, you have to work out of a Home Depot. And I'm like, bro, I ain't trying to tell people where the nails and hammers are when I'm 17. You know, I'm a hunter, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I need to be able to go and produce my own luck. And that's what I love about Door to Door sales is you really do have the ability to put your last name on your back, say, hey, I'm worth X amount, and I'm going to go prove that.
Yeah.
You know, because time either exposes you or promotes you. And, you know, as a lot of these, you know, individuals that are at the start of their career in door-to-door sales, that's what they have to understand is it is a career. They have a professional contract sitting right in front of them. The doctors, the dentists, the athletes, they spend years to get that professional contract so that they can make the type of money that these guys have right in front of them.
Dude.
They have to make that their life. They have to cut out their distractions. They need to become emotionally unavailable. They need to become myopic. They need to not be able to look left or right because there's no distractions. The technique, the words that come out of their mouth, the attitude, which is programmed up here, and the behavior of what they do on a day-to-day basis. What they do occasionally will change nothing every time.
Dude. It's so true, man. Like I think when you're in it for a long time, you forget, maybe not forget, but like maybe you lose touch with, man. Like this really is such a unique industry, and you have to like. I have so much respect for guys that make it here.
Yeah.
Because we all know, like, that dude's battle tested. Like he has been through some shit. You know what I mean? Well, dude, like I am curious, like what caused you to gravitate towards Tom?
Yeah, so Tom was the first trainer that I listened to when I was 18 years old. I had a device called a Zune. I don't know if anybody remembers what those things were when they had the brick iPods. And at the time, I'm pretty sure it was called piratebay.org, and I ripped like all of Tom's audio, and I would listen to it every night when I went to bed. I'd listen to it in the car. And the thing that really attracted me with Tom compared to all the other sales trainers is he teaches how-to sales training, the meat and potatoes, not just theories, not just motivation, but like what to say. You know, like obviously you have a reason for saying that. Would you mind sharing it with me? Like those specific one-liners.
That's a great one-liner.
And you talked about one-liners before, and like they might care about sticking the one-liner. The way I would analogize one-liners is like cologne or perfume. If I put 14 sprays of cologne and I walked in an elevator, somebody's going to be like, damn, he's got way too much cologne on, right?
Yeah.
But if I have no cologne, I sound like everybody else. So it's having the right amount of sauce, having the right amount that's like, wow, this is a little bit different. Because when I present, I'm looking for the excuse for them to say yes. They're looking for the excuse to tell me no. And then a lot of the time, it's just that I can look them square in the eye and say, look, if I go through this process with you, you'll do it. The hardest part of my job is timing. You know, Judy was a little dramatic, but she told me her electric bill last month was negative $4. Now, keep in mind, we haven't picked your home, but how many years have you guys even lived here? And they start to say, hey, he looks the part, he sounds the part, that does kind of make sense, this kind of makes sense. And then I find the excuse to find that small little opening to actually help persuade them. Like I said, sales is the art of blending complete opposites. Communication, persuasion. People think persuasion's a bad thing. It's asking the right questions to solve their problems. So I'm weaving in and out. Like maybe if I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, I'm going to talk to them about Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland defense. And then I might be like I said, you know, you have the ability to redirect, divert, or shift a bill that you're never going to cancel. And it's like really no way I can hurt your situation, just whether or not you're going to be eligible. Now, how many years have you lived here? I use a lot of takeaways. I always tell them, too, like, if you're not excited about it, don't do it. Like, I use so many takeaways in my process. Like,
dude,
I'll tell them that they can't do it. I've had times where I've walked away from the table and they bring me back to the table.
Well, it's like, I feel like guys, like, if you're hearing this in you're new to sales and you hear the word, oh, I use a lot of takeaways.
Yeah.
I go study that one thing, because
Yeah.
it's like that's the needed versus the needy.
Yeah.
That's, you can't just be all give. You have to take, and that's really what separates guys. But it's like breaking down to the ridiculous, like you said, of like those little things. And I think to your point, like Tom does it really is how to. I've been to a couple other like training platforms. Just like one here in Scottsdale, went to Andy Elliott's stuff, his culture seminar, and dude, felt like a professional motivation. It was a closing seminar, but like we walked away from there like, where's the how-to? Where's the stuff that you take into the field? Where's the stuff that you can literally apply, the sustenance? And I think that your guys' stuff does that perfectly.
I think Tom has been a huge blessing in my life. I always say there's going to be two type of people in your life: people that will inspire you or people that will drain you. And I feel genuinely blessed. I don't think it was by accident. I think God has a big part of it. Because J. Douglas Edwards passed everything to Tom, and then Tom passed the torch to me. And one of the big success defining moments of my life is going to be when How to Master the Art of Selling 2 comes out.
Okay,
and that's going to be my first book that I co-author with Tom.
Let's go, dude.
And
catch that one.
I'm going to give everything I got into that. Like going back to giving people way more than they expect. And we're the only creatures that face rejection every single day. So when people do tell you get a real job, like Josh says, well, a real job is when you start to make big boy money. If you're not making big boy money, you might not have a real job.
Yeah.
And then you say you want to compare bank accounts, and then they say, oh, no, I don't want to do that.
No.
But like when we talk about takeaways right there, that's such an important part of the sale.
Dude, it's huge.
And, I've had situations where people are like yelling at me, like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I don't even tell them when I'm there. I walk away. You're not getting it. And I walk away. These people could beg me to do it. No, this is service. I had a woman that started to yell at me, and I was like, Miss, this isn't a sales process. This is a service. You're actually starting to make me feel a little uncomfortable. I started to walk away.
Dude.
And it's like, somebody takes the command position. This is a service. You're giving away free money. You know what I mean? If they don't want to be involved with it, then some do, some don't. So what? Someone's waiting. Not everybody's a qualified buyer. But instead of focusing on what you're doing wrong in the field, stop focusing on what you do wrong and start only focusing on what you do right. If you want to focus on improving, then you need to voice record yourself in the field and listen to it, or have your manager or one of the top salespeople listen to it.
Yeah.
But if they're constantly beating themselves up, that's not what a salesman is. A salesman is first off a man or a woman that can sell themselves to themselves.
Yeah. Well, I think like even back to the takeaway stuff, it's like, what's the psychology behind that? Like FOMO, fear of missing out. It's literally like there's more power. Like people what's the phrase? They care more, or they desire what they're missing out more than they gain, or how's that phrased? Like you care more about what you're missing than what you could actually gain. Like the desire for what you don't have is greater than what you could have.
Yeah.
So that's the psychology behind it.
And what a lot of the time is you ever hear like, you're not supposed to be pushy, right? You don't want to be pushy, right? What you want to do is you want to pull them.
Oh yeah.
I want to pull them. I don't want to push them. I want to pull them. And I'm able to pull them by using a lot of these takeaways.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the process, I'm like, usually at this point of the process, like, people are excited. So I apologize, because most of the time they ask me if I want to like ice cold cup of pick lemonade, because they realize how much that this will help their situation.
Yeah.
But it comes down to you having that absolute belief that you're like really helping people. And that's the difference between like, a stone cold trapper, what we call the top level of a salesman, and the lowest form, which I thought was an order taker. They used to call the scrub of the office a tour guide, right? We're not tour guides. We're out there, to make plays. You guys don't work for free. A lot of individuals that are on like a summer program, like you're not there to just hang out. Like cut out all the distractions. First person they work for is themselves over anybody else. So
yeah,
it's like there's nothing better. Like I'm at the point right now where it's like I shift my mindset so I don't even get paid on the sales. Like, I don't even do that. I do this out of a goodwill to help people.
Yeah.
I get paid for the rejection. Rejection turns me on. I get amused by hostile people. So it's like when the way you think is it's a
Yeah.
real total shift in the way that you think and opposite thinking. I never see failure as failure, but only as the game I must play to win. I never see failure as failure, but the match I relentlessly play. I never see failure as failure, but only ability to be turned on by rejection and amused by hostile people. And it's like
Dude,
the way that I think and the
just
way that I've
ripping,
decided to
dude.
program my mind is the way that I'm able to persist for 17 years and haven't worked a day in my life. People are like, "Oh yeah, Taylor's still on the doors, like it's a bad thing." Like, dude, I'm playing a game. I don't go to the trenches. Like when I was 10 years old, I'd hop on my bicycle, right, in my neighborhood, in my little BMX bike, and we'd go to my friend's house and we'd play, baseball. We'd have the wiffle ball bats, we'd tape them up with duct tape, and we'd have this little field. It's the same thing when I go to knock doors. Like, oh, we're going out to the trenches. Like, no, you're not going out to the trenches. You're giving away free money today, and you get paid thousands of dollars to do it.
Dude,
The way that you think. That's what it's about.
an elite mindset. What do you feel like, and just like the art of closing,
Yep.
what do you feel like, because I get asked this question a lot, like, Josh, what do you think is the most important part of this hour, call it hour and a half, sometimes 45-minute presentation? Or like, like the actual, like, start, like, as you would say, like the relieving anxiety, or what do you call it at the beginning?
Just like relieving their anxiety and increasing the certainty. But like, I think
Throughout the whole process, like, what would you say is like what are the most crucial parts of that?
number one, I have to create curiosity. Number two, I need to be clear because a confused mind always says no. Number three, I need to have a really good story. The better my story is, the more that I can get them to create imagery. The more that I can create curiosity, I paint a picture in their mind. Right now, every single person's electric bill is not a big deal. Most of them are on auto pay. Most of them don't even think about it because they know that that's a bill that they need no matter what. But if it's a pebble in their shoe, they'll keep walking with it. But if it becomes a glass shard, they'll stop walking and they realize they have a problem. So creating the pain. If there's no pain, there's no change. And then personalizing the opportunity to the homeowner. The same way I'm talking to you right now is the same way I talk to the homeowners. There's no like fluff. There's nothing fake about what I do. It's just, I look at a way that I can help them. And if I see the way that I can help them, then I have that absolute certainty, which is another thing. Because when I first got into sales, I had an absolute certainty that I was going to beat everybody. I made the decision before I started. I guarantee you the person that is going to be the top sales professional at Solar Pros, whether it's a setter or closer, they had made that decision way before now.
Yeah.
They had made the decision at the beginning of the year that losing was not an option and that they're playing a game and they're more interested in the scoreboard, than, goofing off and, just doing what non-professionals do and just having a bunch of distractions. And if they can learn to dial in and really just tap in and get consistent, they create momentum. And once momentum's on their shoulder, that they can create their life. And like we talked about at the beginning, we're all working towards freedom. You want the freedom. The two greatest motivators is the need to be comfortable, to reach that next level of comfort, and to be challenged. Those are two of the biggest motivators for people. But the things that demotivate people is burnout and boredom. They become way too challenged and the anxiety is way more than the certainty. I'm way too challenged. I'm going to eventually become burnt out. I get way too comfortable. I'm eventually going to become bored. So it's like trying to strive for that next level of comfort. But for me, it was always about my dad, and my dad's always had health conditions. And it was, you hear people say, like, what's your why? That shouldn't be the question you ask yourself. The question you need to ask yourself is, who is your who? Because when things get tough, you think about your who and you realize, hey, my who is more important than me feeling tired. My who is more important than this lady yelling at me. And that who needs to be your driving force. And, it's crazy is like we are professionals. We get paid more than athletes, doctors, dentists, and lawyers. But it's just, are they willing to pay the price that it takes to get there?
Those future McCarthys running around, bro.
Oh yeah,
That's the who, right?
Coming to a door near you eventually.
Dude, some savages just coming out ready to rip, dude.
It's a crazy way to think. I don't have kids, but that's why I'm working so hard. Is I'm working hard for the kids that I have, and the impact that I can make, and getting texts or Instagram messages or hey, dude, like, I learned so much. You changed my life. Like, that's why I do it, because I was the underdog, and I still look at myself like the underdog. I think we've all been doubted at some point, and, there's a time where you just kind of put your foot down and say, hey, I'm going to go prove it. And when you can do that, that's when your life starts to change.
You Boston people, bro. You guys are
You got a
just
pocket car over here in the yard. And
yeah.
my RV's on the other side over here. We talk funny.
Dude, Boston has a winning culture. Like people from Mass are. Dude, I ran into an old lady. Yeah, well, I was just out there, and she's telling me, she's like, "Oh, I was just watching the Knicks and the Sixes," is what she's saying, and she's like, "Oh
Sixes.
yeah, those New York fans, like," she's like, "they're brutal," and I was like, I had just got back from a Bruins game,
Yeah.
and I was like, "You think that?" I was like, "You guys are the ones that are brutal," and she goes, "Yeah, it's because we're winners." You think about it, it's like the Red Sox, the
Oh,
Bruins, the
my
Celtics,
whole childhood
the
was a
Patriots.
championship parade every single year.
It's like,
Everything.
bro, these people just expect to win out there. It's so funny, dude. It's cool to see, but, um, dude, I think like to wrap up, like what do you think? I mean, you get asked so many questions by guys. Like, what can you like when guys come up and ask you, "Hey Taylor, like this or that." Like, what do you notice as far as like the guys that are going places versus the guys that are just asking a question, just ask a question? Like, what do you notice that's different about the guys that? I'm just wondering if you like see a difference in the type of question that you get asked from guys that like, hey, that dude's actually gonna get it done.
Well, I always like to say not taking notes is like eating spaghetti with a spoon. You're going to get a lot on you, but you're not going to get a lot in you.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest difference is a lot of people are entering the selling zone, and then they exit the selling zone. And then they enter the selling zone, and they exit the selling zone. Most people are interested when they need to be committed and dedicated. When you can dedicate yourself and say, hey, I'm going to marry the game of sales, like I'm married to the game, I'm 1,000% committed because this is my career, this is my path. You can take two paths. You can take the path of the amateur path, you can take the path of the pro. Most people aren't willing to take the path of the pro because it's a lot harder. But when you decide to take that path, that's when your game gets to the next level, and that's when you can create income for the rest of your life, because the more that you learn, the more that you know that you need to learn.
You got to be a pro. Come be a pros, dude.
You got to be a pro, Don't want to be an amateur. You got to be a professional.
You got to be a pro. Interesting. Yeah, so the phrase you used is guys should be dedicated, or what'd you say?
Committed and dedicated rather than being interested.
Rather than being interested, yeah.
Because when you're interested, you enter and exit the idea of being this professional salesman. A lot of people say I'm a professional salesman. A lot of people say I'm a professional sales trainer. And it's like, if you really want to be professional, you're going to dedicate yourself to the craft.
You know what we need, bro? We need a book, and it's called McCarthy One-Liners, and then it's going to be the one-liner and then 4 pages of explanation of what that can mean.
Yep.
And just like break it down,
We
bro.
got it.
I'm just like, you talk like you just have so many on repeat. I'm like, okay, like which one should we grab and be like, okay, let's break this just this one down.
The reason I have that is going back to the fact I had a 1.8 GPA. Like, these things create light bulbs in my mind, and when the light bulb goes on, it allows me to pivot in the direction that I want to go.
I notice you keep saying that, like you like seek out these light bulb moments,
Yeah.
and then like I can feel your passion of like, dude, I'm gonna convert this into my training, or like, oh, I'm gonna teach this concept, here, like, and you're constantly evolving.
It's an aha moment, and it's a way to help people think differently. Because same deal, if I train like every other sales trainer, people will tend not to listen.
Yeah.
But if I'm a little bit different than everybody else in the way that I can help you think, like small little things, like most people are strobe lights when they need to be laser beams. What does a strobe light do? It blinks on and off, on and off, on and off. What is a laser beam? It's constantly precise. So when I'm strobe lighting, I say, Taylor, you're strobe lighting. Nope, strobe light. I'm not a strobe light. I got to be the laser beam. And I pivot and I get back on the direction I need to go. Small little things like that. They're stupid, but they help me. And a lot of things that help me can help other people, just based on the way that I think.
Yeah. What do you What do you say to guys? I don't know if you get asked this question a lot about Like, it's one thing, like, hey, like, Taylor, you can come in, you can train this office, and, like, everyone's going to rep here for a couple of days. But then you leave, right? And we have Knockstar and stuff like that. But, like, have you ever talked to, like, managers or reps on and trained them on how to train their people?
Yeah.
Do you do that a lot?
It's going back to very simple basics. If you manage a salesman's numbers, you are managing history. You're not managing anything. Hey, how many sales are you going to do? 20. All right, Billy's going to do 25. George is going to do 12. You're not managing anything. When the manager, the number one job of a manager is selling the salesman on selling, but when the manager can manage the activity of the members of the team, that's how he's going to manage the results. So it's like I give people the formulas, but I could tell everybody the easiest way to sell somebody solar or the easiest ways to be able to make this job a game, but most people aren't going to do it. It's just crazy. It's just most people are going to hear it and it goes in one ear and out the other one.
Yeah.
But you have to hear, read, write, and say something 6 times before it becomes a natural part of you. You need to utilize, you need to internalize, you need to reinforce. And when they can do that, then it becomes them. But most people right now, if you listen to this podcast one time, guess what? You're being exposed to it. But if they listen to it over and over with a pen and a piece of paper and they start reciting and they start hearing it, writing it, reading it, saying it, then it becomes a natural part of them. And then they think differently and it pivots the way that their mind thinks. Like I was talking about opposite thinking, reverse thinking. I never see failure as failure, but only as a learning experience. I never see failure as failure, but only as the chance to develop my sense of humor. I never see failure as failure, but only as the chance to make my loved ones proud. And that's why I do what I do, is because of my tribe. My tribe started with my family. Now my tribe is the whole door-to-door community.
Yeah.
And, I'm nothing without everybody that, supports me. So if, I didn't have people that supported me, I wouldn't do what I do. So I do it for you guys, and it's genuine. And I love to do what I do. And it's very fulfilling when, you can have that guy that says, hey, or that girl that says, hey, I watched this and I almost quit and now I've earned X amount. One of my top students had a $100,000 week 2 weeks ago. $100,000 weeks. We were at the incentive here at Tom Hopkins' house, and we were at a very successful, gentleman's home. And he's like, what do your parents think of that? He's like, I haven't even told them yet. Imagine your 22-year-old kid made $100,000 a week. That's unbelievable,
What was he doing before? I think he told me.
Yeah, he was doing something that wasn't. He was selling something, but it wasn't solar. It wasn't solar.
I totally forgot.
He was selling something, but it wasn't solar.
Okay, yeah. Dude, sorry, I totally forgot about that. Bro, I feel your passion. I feel you are a genuine person. I truly think that you want to really help bless the community and in door to door. And man, we need more people like you, because I think you teach the right way to do it. And I really think that you are a master of the craft, and there's very, very few people I would label that in the space, especially when it just comes to pure setting, closing, and solar. Like, I know you have roofing stuff, but man, so if you guys aren't diving into Taylor's content, reading Tom Hopkins' books and this new one that's coming out, get on that. So much knowledge in there. It's how a lot of guys have gotten started. It's just rinse and repeat on what McCarthy's doing. But bro, I appreciate you coming on, man. Yeah. Seriously, it's so genuine. Love having you around, bro. And dude, catch you next time, brother.
Thank you so much. And I'll leave you with one last nugget. The psychology of yes starts with you. You are the product and service. The energy and excitement and enthusiasm is 51% of your sales process. And then S, we should have never been called salesmen. We should have been called servants.
Servants, baby. Let's go.
Serve and elevate, right?
There we go. Hey, let's go. That's the pros way.
Serve and elevate.
Okay. Appreciate you, man.
Let's go.